Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. Today I've got a very special guest, and thank you so much, Liam, for joining me today. How are you doing?
No worries. It's a pleasure to come on and thank you very much. Yeah, not too bad. Not a bad weekend. Watched obviously the women's game yesterday. Watched the England game today, but yeah, it's not like watching the boys, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely a good substitute.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I think we miss both. Like, it's nice for the women and the men's team to play at the same time. But talking on the women's team, I did want to start off with that.
Yeah.
What did you make of that win, and like how important do you think it was to get that result?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty comprehensive, and I know Spurs have been struggling. Obviously, they've sacked their manager and have got the interim manager in, but I thought, if I'm being honest, they'd have made a bit more of a contest of it. It was pretty easy pickings, and in the end, I think if you look at the second half alone, leading up to the 90th minute, I think in the second half alone we had 16 shots to their 0, which kind of basically said everything, didn't it? It was ridiculous. So I thought we'd win 3-1, but I didn't. As I said, I thought because it was a North London derby and Spurs had got better over the last couple of years in the women's game. But yeah, it looked like they've been climbing up the ladder, missed a step, and fell back down. It could have been anything, couldn't it? It could have been 8-9-1.
Yeah.
Being totally honest, yeah.
Yeah, I know, I agree because I think with obviously them getting Beth England and adding to their squad, I did think it would be a bit of a more of a difficult game. But
Yeah,
I think when they scored, going to half time, I was glad to get into half time because that probably gave them a bit of hope. But yeah, for me, I think it was quite an easy win. I think I think their defending on some of the goals weren't great, but I do think it was a very comfortable win. And yeah, I did want to ask you there about Caitlin Ford because she had a really good game. She loves
yeah.
scoring against Spurs, doesn't she? And she was player of the match. What did you make of her performance?
Yeah, I thought she played pretty well. I was on one of the streams yesterday, Ryan's stream, and we were
Mm.
saying about Caitlin Ford for the game and the record that she's got at the moment, obviously against them. And yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think like obviously at the moment it's important for the front girls, obviously, to get the forward line to get goals because obviously without Miedemar and Beth Mead, like
Mm.
if you take two star players out of any team, obviously you're going to get a totally different team. But I just think like the confidence that the Chelsea win gave
Mhm.
the girls in terms of obviously getting over the line. They didn't just get over the line, did they? In the final, like they battered Chelsea after about the first 2 minutes and comfortably come out winners. And I just think it's really it was really important that obviously people like Caitlin Ford got some goals yesterday because leading into the Bayern Munich game, which is obviously the big game for them this week, that some of the girls have obviously scored some goals. And the first goal, that was a great finish. And to be fair to her as well, she's since the final as well. She's kind of her confidence has obviously risen massively after scoring that goal in the final. But yeah, I think Caitlin Ford had a really good game. Um, I thought they all had a really good game. Kim Little again, always impressed with me. Just think she's absolutely superb in that midfield role. And
Mhm.
yeah, we're quite lucky that we still got players like Kim Little and obviously McCabe that can
Yeah.
obviously push the team forward.
Yeah, it's like such an unbelievable team we have, and I think Stina, I think she was like, I think as players you can sort of go out of form, and maybe she was lacking a bit of confidence, but I think that goal she scored was just unbelievable. I think it's just a great goal to score, especially when you were low in confidence, and I guess since that Chelsea game, I feel as
Yeah,
though she's got her like mojo back really. And yeah, I think it's great to see as well Ford scoring that brace. And I think obviously without Beth Mead and Miedemar, it was quite worrying if he wouldn't score as many goals because they're like such an important part of this team.
yeah.
But we seem to kind of manage okay without them. But I wanted to ask you about that. Do you think that win would be good for our confidence? Because obviously we've got Bayern Munich coming up, and that is such an important win.
Well, I think if you look at today's result, Man City, that's a
Mm,
massive result. That's basically if we win our game back hands, we're back in the running. Do I think we'll win it? I don't think we'll win it.
mm,
Overall, I think Chelsea will probably just get over the line again like they always do. But do you know
yeah.
what? I think in terms of like them, obviously going out and beating them 5-1, it's going to have a massive boost. And like you said, like when you're missing 2 key players, and obviously these girls have had to step up, and obviously we're talking about 2 go-to players. We're talking about 2 players that when we need to win a massive game, they're the go-to players that we've gone to for the last kind of 2, 3, 4 years. And when you, as I said, when you take them 2 out, that's a massive, massive difference. And then you're asking for other people to step up, but that would give the girls confidence to be able to go into the next round of games, because Bayern Munich and Man City, it ain't easy, is it? It's not easy whatsoever to play that back to back, but they've scored goals now. They've had a really good win against Tottenham, and they should go into these games more confident.
Definitely. I think the one against Bayern Munich will be really tough, and we do sort of struggle at this moment when we get into the Champions League, because we will have tougher teams to play, but I think we do most of the time beat Tottenham. So I just think us scoring that many goals as well is really important for us, like we were saying, because of Miedema, Beth Mead. They're like our real star players, and when Miedema's playing, she will always find a way to save us. So I think it's been hard not having them, but I just think the team have done really well without them, and that game was definitely a great win. And like you were saying, with the league, with the WSL, with Man City beating Chelsea today, that was probably a big shock. It was for me. I did expect Chelsea to get something out of the game. Talking on the league, do you think it will go down to the wire, or do you think, who are you feeling about the league? Because I know, like, Man United, Chelsea, Man City, it could be anyone. So, like, what are you feeling about that?
I still think Chelsea are favourites, because, as I said, I think Chelsea have got the pedigree and they've obviously overcome it before. But saying that, I do think it'll go to the wire now, because you've got, as I said, if you've got 4 teams now that are literally going to be like neck and neck with each other, and I just can't see one team now running away a bit. Because if you look at the league, if you, apart from the top 4 clubs, you should be expecting to win nearly every other game, which says to me that this season will go to the wire. And do you know what? It'd be incredible for the women's game if we could get 3-4 teams going into the last game of the season. Like, how good would that,
exciting?
Yeah, how good would that be? How good would that be, though? And that's what they want to strive for. And obviously. The women's game has been breaking down barriers now for quite a few years, and they continue to do it year in, year out now. And nothing would be more better than obviously the season finale with 3-4 teams going to win it, going into the last game. Obviously, though, if it means that we could get it wrapped up with 2 games to go, obviously I'd rather that. But I think for the actual women's game and being realistic, I do think it will go to the last game of the season now.
Yeah, it's really tough to say right now, because obviously we've sort of got our confidence back now and we are winning again. We're sort of scoring a lot of goals, which is really good. And it's hard to say right now, isn't it? Because it could be anyone. I think I think Chelsea, they've won it a lot, and like they're quite good at that. So I think it probably, like, there's a good chance it will be them, but I think because we've been quite unfortunate with injuries this season, like losing both Beth Mead and Miedema is just like, it's quite, unfair, but this happens. So I think, it's hard to say right now. I do think it will go down to the last game, but hopefully we can. But let me know in the comments who do you think will win the WSL. Now, I thought I'd actually go on now to talk about the men's team, because obviously it's the international break. England have played. Saka, by the way, scored an absolute screamer. Did you watch the England game or not?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I watched about 60 minutes of it today, and I've got it back in for the last 5-10 minutes. But yeah, he just continues. Saka just continues to be Saka, don't he? Like, I was talking to someone literally about an hour ago, and I was saying that every time I watch Saka, and I watch him a lot, but when you start thinking of like kind of milestones, like when he first come into the team when he was 17, the World Cup, obviously the Euros before that, missing the penalty and all that, and you just think where he's come from when a 17-year-old to where he is now. We're talking about a player now who's probably one of the most informed players in the whole world. Like, we're talking about a world-class player now. This guy is, and The scary thing is he's nowhere near what I believe what his potential like in terms of where he's going to end up in the game, because his attitude is absolutely spot on. He's grounded. We've seen what happens when he has a bad moment, like missing the penalty in the Euro finals, and how he's overcome that. World's his oyster, honestly, and anyone can come at me, but the guy's got a chance of obviously being like one of the best players in the world over the next 5 to 10 years, and being able to pick up that the major trophies as well. Where hopefully that's going to be with us, with the team that we got set up, but also like individual honours as well. Like he could be going for World Player of the Year he could be doing it now, to be fair, in terms of competing for it. But I do think that he's got the capability to go and win it one year.
Honestly, Saka, I feel so proud whenever I watch him because he's doing so amazing, and especially after missing the penalties in the Euro, he sort of used that as motivation. And we know now at Arsenal, when he takes penalties, he does actually score. Like he scored all of them really, from as much as I remember them. So he's like used that a bad situation and used that as like motivation. And I think this season people really starting to see what a player he is. Like for me, I think he's like world class. I think he's amazing, and I think for us to win the league, I think that would even be better for him to because he deserves to win stuff as well. So yeah, Saka has been really good, and obviously it's great out of this game not to have any injuries, because I know Zinchenko has played, and I thought let's hope he can come back without any injuries. I didn't want to talk about that actually, because I know we have Saliba's out and we know Tomiyasu's out. Like how important do you think it is to have like Saliba back in the team? We know Rob Holding has done a good job. I don't know if he could do it all the way to the end, but how important do you think having Saliba back is in this team?
It's majorly important. Rob Holding's a good stopgap. We know Rob Holding can come into certain games and do a job, but we've got to be realistic as well. We did have a bit bad moment with Rob Holding last year away at Tottenham, unfortunately, and we don't really want to be getting ourselves into that kind of situation again. I don't think the Saliba injuries are that serious, if I'm being honest. I think he should be back, if not Leeds, by Liverpool latest. And look, he's a massive player for us. Him and Gabriel have been absolute monsters this year in terms of the expectation going into the season and what they kind of produce. Because you think when we brought Saliba and Gabriel in the club, probably back in when I think 2020, no, we brought Saliba in earlier, didn't we? But then we brought him back from loan, and we thought we was actually going to pair him up with Gabriel at the start, but we didn't. We decided to loan him out. So the dream's been going on for about 2-3 years, Saliba and Gabriel setting up together, and obviously we've finally been able to see it this year, and I think they've both been absolutely fantastic. Because you got to think as well, right? And like at times, it's not just about obviously the defensive setup; it's the way we play. We play an expansive game of football as well, so we are going to leave ourselves open at times, but. And yeah, we do. But the good thing about that is yeah, we do still concede goals. But if you look at it on an average a game, we're scoring 3 goals a game. And I just think to continue to do that and to be able to do that, you need Saliba and Gabriel at the back for us to be able to be quite open in our game, to be able to obviously go at teams with the trustworthy that we got, the pace at the back, and obviously the steel of Gabriel and Saliba. So I think they're both massively important. I think the Tomiyasu injury, he hasn't had the greatest seasons, if we're being frankly honest. But, and this is a big but, you can tell already, like where he's not available now, that with Saliba getting injured as well, we generally probably would have put Ben White at centre back.
Yeah.
Saliba getting injured, we probably put Tomiyasu at right back. Obviously, with him being out at the end of the season, we have to make sure Ben White's fit now. That's probably the most important position now, is that we need to keep Ben White fit for the rest of the season. And Ben White, he's been incredible this year. Like, if there was like, and it's not an insult me saying this to him, because I'm saying it in the contents that he's gone and played out of position. If there was a most improved player for a player that's gone from a position to another position and produced the performances that he's done week in, week out in the Premier League this year, Ben White would win it all day long.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking that as well because obviously with Saliba out, I think he has built this really good partnership with like the back four, and obviously him and Gabriel are solid together. And obviously if Tomiyasu was okay, I would have obviously put Ben White with Gabriel. But I think Rob Holding can do a good job. I think that for me, I think Saliba just has the pace and he
Yeah,
doesn't make as many mistakes. I guess if we're going to the Etihad or Anfield, I'd probably feel a bit more confident with
yeah,
Saliba. But I do have like that belief in Rob Holding because he can do play some really good football and he can really help the team. It's just sometimes he can make the odd mistake. But I just want to bring up this question. Thoughts if Saliba is out for Leeds, what's your back for? What would you go for?
it has to be the same back four as
Yeah, I
Crystal
would change
Palace.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Rob Holding had a really good game that game, didn't he?
Mhm.
He was really solid. Um, and look, it's a home game, which is pretty. If you want to come back after international break, you want a home game, don't you? You don't want to be going away out
Mm.
to home. And obviously, the injury to Saliba has probably, in a funny enough way, as long as it's only like over this week, and obviously the Palace game, it's probably fallen at a really good time because it means he gets a bit of rest, he gets to recover a bit,
Mhm.
gets to kind of regain himself. He hasn't had to go on international duty. He hasn't had to fly out or nothing like that. And we could get a really fully refreshed Saliba for Liverpool, which would be really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of think the international break sort of came at a good time for us because obviously
Yeah,
we're on great form, and I think for Saliba, I think it's probably a matter of like a few weeks he's out for because it seemed like it was more like several weeks, so I don't think he'll be out for the whole like time left. But I think Rob Holding's okay. It's like for a few games, but having Saliba back so important, and obviously we play Leeds on Saturday, I think, on the
yeah.
1st of April. How do you feel about that game? Do you think it's like it's a good game for us to have? Because I guess if we had Man City straight after the international break, it'd be quite a difficult game. So do you think this should be a good game to have?
The problem is, as us as football fans, we overthink everything. So we're sitting here now, right, overthinking every scenario. The realism is, though, we should beat Leeds at home. That is a
Yeah.
realism. We should beat Leeds at home. But you can't be overconfident. I think one of the good things about this team this year is, and because we haven't had the success in the past, like
Mm.
we've being used to in our former years, is that I don't think we're a team that gets complacent at the moment. I don't think we're a team that thinks, you know what, it's a gimme. I think the team goes out there every week and gives everything to earn the 3 points every week. So I don't think the team would be complacent whatsoever. I think I think Leeds won't be an easy game because Leeds are a funny side. Like
Mm.
you can either go and smash them 4-5-1, or they'll give you a really tough game. If you look at the game at Ellen Road this year, was probably the hardest away game that I've seen this year that we and where somehow we won 1-0. Like I know we lost to Everton, but I thought
Mhm.
Leeds were a much better team against us at Ellen Road, and we somehow got a 1-0 win out of that. And that was a massive, massive result for us and a massive moment for us because it meant we could win ugly, we could go away, and when things ain't going well for us, we can kind of like put a wall up and still get the points. But I think we'll get the win. I don't think it'd be easy. A 3 p.m. Saturday game never seems to be easy at the Emirates. Bournemouth, Brentford, they both come to mind. But I think we should have enough, and I think as long as it's going to be an interesting one Saturday, isn't it? Because
Mm.
Man City Liverpool's at 12:30, so we will know either way before kickoff. Like we could be going 11 points clear if Liverpool get some kind of result, or we could be fighting to go back to 8 points clear again.
Yeah, I think for me, Premier League is unpredictable. Like you can't look at a game now and think we're going to win that easy because no
No,
game in the Premier League is easy. And we're at the stage now where there's 10 games to go, and I feel like teams are either fighting for Europe, fighting to stay up. So everyone's in a position that they need to kind of fight for. So I think it's going to be a hard one. I think I'm glad we don't have Man City straight away because I think it's good, and I do think we'll have the right players to be in that game. But yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. I think obviously with Man City playing, we do hope they'll drop points, and I sort of feel like they will drop points. I know we've got 10 games to go, but I see them dropping points. I kind of see us doing that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you think we'll win that game against Leeds? Are you like confident? Obviously, the international break just happened, and how you feel about it? Because I know it's hard to say because you don't know which Leeds will turn up.
Why shouldn't we be confident? We've got
Mm.
Gabriel Jesus back. We've got Trossard, who's a man in form at the moment. As long as we bring back all our players and no one's else fit, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we overthink the worst. Do you know what I mean? Why shouldn't we be confident going out and beat Leeds? I'll be disappointed if we lose to Leeds. Do you know what I mean? Or even draw to Leeds. Like, we need to be confident. I think the biggest thing the fans need to do, and I'll be totally on the show on Saturday, is don't be complacent because you think that it's a gimme. Go there exactly like you would against Manchester United and Liverpool. Like, the fans have been incredible this year, absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, I'm away this weekend, so I won't be there. But when you start looking at the things that what's going on in the ground, the Ashburton Army, the atmosphere, and everything's clicking into gear for these last 10 games for me. And I've kind of been watching a few games this weekend. Where I've had a bit of time, like the Liverpool game, the Manchester United game. And them games, when I watch them, I sit there and I think, this has to be our season. Like, everything that's happened this season, we beat Man United in the 89th minute. We beat Aston Villa in the 93rd minute. We then go and beat Bournemouth in the 97th minute. The Saka penalty against Liverpool, that was a big pressure moment for him at the time. All these things have been leading up. And for me, we just need to make sure that everyone, whether it's the players, the management, the coaching team, and the fans, turn up to every game now. I'm really confident about us away from home, and I might be a bit mad here, but I think we're going to get a big result somewhere. And whether it's at Liverpool or City, I think we're going to get a result somewhere. Because you look at our away games this year, people going, oh, well, we haven't played that. We still got our tough away games. We went to Chelsea and won. Okay, Chelsea ain't in great form, but we still went to Chelsea and won. We went to Tottenham when everyone thought that we wouldn't win there, and we won there, and we battered them the first half. We battered Manchester United for most of the game. We got robbed basically because Martinelli's goal didn't get given. So we are very good away from home at the moment, and if we play our cards right and continue to play like we do away from home, I think we'll get a result somewhere. I think we'll get 3 points somewhere. If we got 3 points from one of them 2 games, the confidence that'll go through that team, it will explode.
Yeah, I think for me, like the team, I think the differences for me this season is that the team like aren't afraid of any other team. Like they're just like the belief that there is so different from other seasons. So that is why I feel like we can get a result at Anfield. I didn't want to put up Stu's comment. Thoughts on a run with City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle. But I think, like we said, I think for me, like because the team believe in each other, the manager, it's like this connection here. It gives me confidence to think, you know what, we are capable of anything. We can get a point or get a result at any game this season. But I think for Newcastle, for me, that'll be a difficult one. Do you know, are we away at Newcastle or is it home?
Yeah, it's away.
Yeah, that's another thing because the Newcastle, like they're so united at the moment. So yeah, how are you feeling about like that game as well? Do you think I think it'll be hard for personally.
It's going to be a tough game because we've got to give a lot of respect to Newcastle. Let's be honest. I was talking to a Newcastle fan yesterday, funnily enough, and they didn't expect to be in the Champions League this year. What they've done this year is probably it's not as spectacular as than us, but it's pretty much up there. Like what a season they've had in general. Like they've gone around it the right way in my terms, in terms of the owners coming in. They haven't just gone out and bought egos. Like they could have easily gone out and tried to get Cristiano Ronaldo from Man United. They could have easily gone out and tried to buy the big names, but they haven't done that, have they? They've gone out there. They bought a couple of really good young players, like Isaac. They bought obviously Bruno from Lyon. And obviously then the additions like Pope, Trippier. They brought some really, really good players in. And for me, Newcastle are probably just behind us at the moment as team of the season for what they've achieved.
Yeah.
But we got that thing on our back, what they did to us last year. And I think this team now going into the final will want to make amends for what happened at Newcastle last year. And I think that's a good thing for us. That's a very good thing that the team will go there with a bit in their belly. Like, this is what happened to us here last year. We all seen the all or nothing. We all see what the team were like after that Newcastle game in the change rooms. I'm sure Mikel Arteta will be kind of in a roundabout way reminding them of that. But I feel we're such a different team away from home this year. I'm confident. I'm confident about going away to teams because we just dominate teams. Like, look what we did to Fulham. Like, Fulham are not a bad team. Like, no one else has done that to Fulham this year. Look what we did to Brentford away from home. No one's done that to Brentford at Brentford's ground. We are going to grounds and we are literally dominating teams. And why should we not be confident? And I think, it's a really hard game, Newcastle, and it will be a critical moment. But it's one that we can kind of relish, I think, and make amends for last season.
Yeah, definitely. I think it will be difficult. But like we said, the team have really used like last season as probably motivation because like obviously that Newcastle game missing out top four was very disappointing. But in that documentary, you could see how much the team wanted it. And because they didn't get it, I think going to that game, they'll probably go above, like do everything they can to win. And I think the team know that they have to win that one. I think we do have to win every game, but yeah, I think with the league it's quite hard because there's 10 games left, and we do have a few difficult fixtures, and obviously Man City have got Liverpool. If I asked you how confident you are about the league, it's very hard because I think for me, Man City have like dropped points to teams that I didn't think they would. So they've just shown that inconsistence, but I do think they've got a great side, and obviously Haaland there, he's just unreal, and they've just got such a big squad. So how are you sort of feeling about the league? Are you taking it a game at a time, or do you feel quite confident that we'll do it?
I've gained confidence, and I don't know why, but I've gained confidence this weekend. I think just by watching games that have happened this season again, and just seeing what's going on in the ground, what the players are doing. Like, we've got players like that come through Howe End, Eddie Nketiah winning us 89th minute winners, Reece Nelson again. Like this, it's like a fairy tale story, isn't it? In a lot of ways. Like, everything that's happening is a fairy tale story, even down to Martinez's own goal at Aston Villa. Absolutely,
that was brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. But if you ask me at the moment, the way I'm starting to look at it, and I'll be honest, I think Man City. I think a lot of people would still see Man City as favourites because Arsenal have to go away to Liverpool and Man City, but Man City still got to play us. Man City still got to play Liverpool. Man City still got to play Chelsea. We've still got to play Chelsea. So you look at them games, and they're all hard games. But then you look at some of the other away games that Man City have got. Brentford, last game of the season away. Well, not many teams are winning there. Everton, it's going to be a dogfight anyway because they need to stay up, and they pretty much always seem to turn up more against bigger teams. I just think with the Champions League, and we need Man City to go far. We need Man City to beat Bayern Munich. We need Man City to beat Napoli because and obviously the FA Cup, it's loads more games. And I think if Man City mess up somewhere along the line in the Premier League, I think they put the whole Premier League on the back burner for the Champions League. I think if Man City don't win a game that they should win in the next 5 games, I think you'll start seeing Pep Guardiola, and he has done this before, he'll start concentrating on the Champions League, but he'll just massively focus on the Champions League. And I think that's why I think there's a good chance of us doing something. And we've already seen this year, like you've said, several games where you thought Man City would go and win, and they didn't. And they're not the same Man City. They got Haaland, who's an absolute beast, don't get me wrong, like incredible player. But Kevin De Bruyne is not the same Kevin De Bruyne this year. Man City is certainly not the same Man City. They're picking up the points still. Like, they're still picking up quite a lot of points, but it's not the team they were. And I think they're all more easily to drop a couple of draws where you don't expect it. And I do think if that happens, I think Pep Guardiola will just totally focus on Champions League because that's what he really wants.
Yeah, I think with them, because obviously we got knocked out of Europe, we only have like one thing to focus on, and we only play kind of like once a week. So I think for like me, for us it probably works out better, and obviously for them, it's hard because I know they want to win both, but the Champions League's a big competition to win, and any team would want to win it. So it's sort of hard to balance both, because
Yeah.
if results don't go your way in the Premier League, would they just want to go all for it in the Champions League? So I think for me, yeah, I do believe they will drop points personally, because they have dropped points to teams we didn't think they would, and like you were saying with De Bruyne and other players, they haven't been as good as they usually have. In other seasons, they have been great, but they haven't been as they would be. So I
No.
think for me, that gives me confidence, and I know we still got to play them, and it will be a difficult game, but I do think that we can do it. But it's hard to say, because I'm actually someone right now who's just enjoying the ride of the
Yeah.
season, because there's just been so much to love about, even like the Reece Nelson goal at the end, Eddie scored against United at the end. Like, there's so many moments that just will always stay with you forever. So yeah, I just think that at the moment I'm taking the game at time, because we're not one league yet, and I know fans want to get excited, which I get, because we never thought we would be in this position when the league started. So I think taking it a game at a time. We've got 10 cup finals to go. Hopefully we'll win the league, because it would be amazing. And I did want to ask you about which players do you think have like been such an influential part of like our title fight? Like, because I know it's hard to say. I would say all of them, but which like players do you think have really stood out for you this season?
I think obviously you've got to look at the lads, the attacking lads, Saka, Martinelli. Like, I honestly think now, when you start looking at these two players and their age, like the rest of not even the league, Europe will be frightened of these guys for years to come.
Mm.
Like, these guys are set up to play in the Champions League now, aren't they? Like, they need to be on the biggest stage, because especially Saka, what he's doing. And I think the big thing about Saka now is he's such a lovely personality, and he's everything in here of obviously both Arsenal and England now.
Mhm.
The way like you said, he turned it all around, like turned that around in the Euro finals. Like, I honestly think that if we're able to track certain players that I think that we're going to go for in the summer, I think Saka's a key factor in that. So like, that's how influential he is now, I think, to our club. And
Mm.
for me, he's been probably the player that we go to in the big moments, whether it's an assist, whether it's a goal, whether it's performance, to obviously rectify that. Martin Odegaard as well, absolute immense player. Like, we're talking about a guy that we got from 30 million from Real Madrid. Like, the guy was rated at 15 years old that he was going to be the next Ballon d'Or winner, in terms of well, not obviously next year, but obviously he was at some point he was going to be a Ballon d'Or winner. And obviously we know with Real Madrid that it's hard to obviously break into the team there at any given time, and we picked him up right at the right time. And the guy, he's unbelievable. He's so good. Like, technically, he's so good, but it's his leadership as well. It's the way he comes on the pitch. Like, I look at the game against Sporting Lisbon, and when he come on the pitch, we was in no man's land in that game. He come on that pitch and he totally changed the whole game, and we dominated Lisbon for the whole extra time with him on that pitch. And for me, he's the guy that we can't lose, because and we see that tackle from Rodri last night. Like, we can't afford to lose him, because he's so good. And I think it's just he's very good at getting himself into the right positions at the right time. And him and Saka have got such a great relationship down that right-hand side as well, which is really obviously influential in terms of the way we play. But I could honestly, I could pick so many players. Like, we can't afford Thomas Partey to be injured, but obviously now we got Jorginho, who's come in, who I think's a a much stronger leader and player than what we obviously have with Lokonga. Lokonga did have to go out on loan because he weren't getting the minutes, and he obviously his confidence had gone down, unfortunately. So Jorginho's a massive player, and it's not even about people playing on the pitch. If you watch Jorginho on the sideline, he's coaching players on the sideline. You can't buy that. You can't buy a player who's gone and won the Champions League, who's gone and won the European Cup with Italy. He's gone and won loads of other trophies with Chelsea, and you got him on the sideline coaching your players when he's not playing. These are the kind of things that are happening at the club, which are obviously really, really, really good for us, because it just gives the guys the confidence to get over the final line, and it gives the guys people to go to who have actually gone and done it and done it and done it again. And we've got winners now like Zinchenko. Geezer's another level, like another level unreal. And it's not, yet again, it's not just about him playing left back coming into midfield, which is insane in itself. It's his whole, it's just what he's brought into the club. That what him and Jesus have brought into this club in terms of their personalities, in terms of the leadership, is just on another level. And they're winners. They've won it with Man City. Yet again, we can rely on them to help these guys get over the line. And I think that's the big difference from this year to last year. We didn't have them players to get us over the line. We've got them now.
Yeah, definitely. I think like there's just so many amazing players at this team. Like we could just sit here all day and talk about all of the players. And I definitely have said this, like for me, Zinchenko has been that change in like the mindset as well and the mentality, because he didn't come to Arsenal just to like get in the top four. He came to win things. And I think like Jesus as well, having them two here has really changed things for us. And I think for me, like Saka this season has been a different level. Like I think he's been so consistent, and if you think about it, he's not had much of a rest either. He's played for England like for the full game basically, and he's got to. I was hoping Gareth Southgate may take him off, but no, he didn't. But I think for Saka, he's been superb, and he's that player that when we're playing that, I do believe he will score. Like I think you can rely on him to do that. He has been really good. I think for me, like you said, Odegaard, when we play our like weaker team and when him and Partey come on, you realise that difference, that step up. And I think Odegaard's been a fantastic captain. I think he's a real like leader really on the pitch. He's just, I think what I like about him is quite calm as well. He's like a good person to have on the team. And yeah, I just think defensively as well, like I think we've improved massively. Like you were saying with Gabriel before, he won't always get the credit he deserves. Sometimes I think he's a bit not underappreciated, but he's not always the one who'll get the credit after the game he's played. And Ben White, for me, he has just been like tremendous this season. I know people doubted him a bit, like obviously when he first came because of like the price tag and because he was from Brighton, but this season as well, he's just really shown how good he is, and he's even played like. He used to play in like the centre back. He's moved to right back, and he can play anywhere really. And what I love about him is how well he works with like Saka as well. Because I think in the last game when Saka scored, you could see how like his link-up play with Saka and how well they connected with each other. So I think it's just so hard to pick a few players that have stood out, because I think the season, all of them, it's been very much like. Individually, they've all done amazing. They've all done everything they can for the team. I'll just bring this up. Jorginho as well. Like you were saying with him, I think like a lot of people weren't overly happy about him coming, but you've really seen that he's done his job. And obviously he's probably the backup for Thomas Partey, but you could see his leadership qualities like on the side. You could see how vocal he was, and I definitely think that's down to like experience and winning things, and having that experience in the side is so important, because this is a very young team and we do need more experienced players to kind of help the younger players. I did want to ask a question, and people in the comments can answer this, and I think you sort of answered it before, but I did want to talk about maybe some Arsenal players that maybe underrated, under the radar, maybe don't get the credit, same Jonesy, they deserve. Is there any other players for you that are really good that people might not give the credit to them always after a game?
I think I was going to say is I think one guy that's got to have a lot of credit, and I think we've got to realise in the past, right, that obviously a lot's happened in terms of a lot of players come, a lot of players go. I think there's been a lot of issues in that dressing room for kind of years. But we need to talk about Granit Xhaka, really. We do really need to talk about him because we're talking about a guy, and I'll be totally honest. I was fuming after the Crystal Palace game when obviously he'd done what he did. It weren't Hawley's fault by whatever stretch of imagination, but this is a guy that didn't run away. This is a guy that stood up to it, turned it all round, and I believe he's now being rewarded with the right team around him. Show his capabilities in terms of what he can bring to the team. I think he's a leader. We've always thought he should have. Let's be honest, he should have been the captain for the last few years. But obviously, what happened with the armband, he didn't want it, and that's fair enough. Do you know what I mean? But I think he's got the right team around him now. I think he's got the right mentality around him. I think in the past, and if you watch the All or Nothing series last year, when he talks about the red card at Liverpool, how he takes one for the team, and he did. What he was saying was correct. He took one for the team because of other individuals' mistakes. He got left last man against Liverpool at Anfield. Should have never happened. But I think in the past, he probably took a lot on, and there was probably a lot of frustrations with a lot of stuff going on in the club as well, with a lot of prima donnas, if I'm being totally honest. And I think now he's got the right team around him, and they're all winners, and we've got leaders with him as well. We were seeing a different Granit Xhaka. Like this season, Granit Xhaka, this is his best season at the club. He's scoring goals. He's being involved in loads of goals. He basically plays week in, week out. He'll play in Europe if and when needed. The guy is a machine. The guy is an absolute machine. He even scored for Switzerland yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm really happy for him now. I'm really happy for him because that's not easy to do what he did. Like the easiest way out would have been gone, I'm out of this club now. I'll go and get a move. That would have been the easiest thing that anyone could have done. And let's be honest, 9.5 out of 10 people would have done that. Would have left the club because of that. Like they would have been gone in the January window. And if we do go on and win it, I will share a big moment on that guy alone because I think he's had a massive season, and I think what he's done for the club over the last 3-4 years is absolutely incredible. Yeah, he's had some bad moments, but at the end of the day, he's a leader. He's a leader, and he's now got the team around him to move forward. And I hear people talk about who we're going to get next year to replace him. Granit Xhaka will be in the team next year. Granit Xhaka will be in it. Arteta loves Granit Xhaka. Like Granit Xhaka will still be in the team next year. All it'll be next year is that we'll have better players around us to rotate even more. But rest assured, Granit Xhaka ain't going nowhere. He's staying.
Yeah, I think for me, I said this on one of my other shows, like, for us winning the league, I think that would be an amazing story for Xhaka after everything, the situation that happened. Like, at the time for me, I was like, I didn't see a way back because I feel like it's the fans as well. There was the connection there was like, it wasn't a good connection, and the fact that this has all been turned around is so amazing. And I do think a lot of this is down to Arteta because obviously Xhaka did say in like one of a video he did say that he was going to leave, but then Arteta persuaded him. And I am glad that things have changed into a positive way because I think if he had left and in that state, I think for me I'd have been sad that maybe things couldn't have worked out. But I also sort of didn't think Xhaka would be the player like this season because we know he can score those like rocket of goals every so often, but this season he's done it quite consistently. And I think that him and Partey have just formed a really lovely partnership this season, and I think it feels to me with this season it's like written in the stars for us to win the league. Like it feels to me that like Bournemouth, I in that game when we were 2-0 down, I thought I don't know if we can do this, but we turned it around. So it's like we're finding ways to do it, and yeah, I think Xhaka definitely has been really good this season. I think people won't always give him the credit because we've got other stars in the team like
Yeah.
Saka, Marcelo Odegaard, but with me, he definitely has been really good, and I'm really happy things have worked out better because as fans, we just want to see our team do well, and it's good that he's performing much better this season, and he's done a brilliant job. So yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I did sort of want to talk about Ramsdale as well because
Yeah.
I think for me, I just love talking about him because I think for me, like he did get a lot of stick coming in, and the job he has done is amazing. And we do know he has the odd mistake in him, but so that's just happens with players. And I think as well it does help who he has in front of him. Because we've got a solid defence, a really good defence actually. But for me, the saves that Ramsdale have made this season, some of them have just been like excellent, and he seems really comfortable here. It seems like his home now, and I know he said something that he would want to stay here for the next like 10 years, and it's just nice. We've got like this team that really love being at this club that want to stay with us for a long time, and I just feel like I can see him being here for ages. And I think his performances have just been quality. And yeah, I think he's the right goalkeeper. I know we had a situation with like Martinez and we let him go, and Leno, and I think for me having the right goalkeeper, I guess I think for me playing out from the back had been a bit of a concern for me with like Leno. Of course, Leno's great at his saves. He's a really good goalkeeper, but playing out from the back, I did have my worries. So I think Ramsdale does a really good job at that. So I think for me, maybe I'd go him for maybe a player who won't always get the credit he deserves. What have you made of Ramsdale this season, if you had to say?
I think the good thing about Aaron Ramsdale this season is that we don't talk about him much. So when you don't talk about your goalkeeper much, it means you're doing something well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the biggest compliment I can give him. But do you know what? Right, he's a monster away from home, in my opinion. Like his best performances are away from home because we know he loves winding up the opposition fans, which I absolutely love. I think he gets he gets that bit in between in his teeth about it, don't he? That it basically raises his levels, and that's why I think he plays so well away from home. And I honestly think his best performances when you ever see away from home. But yeah, we don't talk about him that much because how good the team's performing, and his distribution is incredible, like absolutely insane at times in terms of his vision as well. Like he'll have the ball 1 minute and the next minute he's whacked a 90-yard pass that's gone straight to Saka's feet, and you'd be bloody hell, how's he done that? Or Martinelli. But it totally transforms the game, don't it? Because it gives us another option. Because teams have got to think about that, so they can't just literally go gung ho and pour forward. Because you know what? If Ramsdale gets that ball, he's got the vision and he's got the capability of pinging a 90-yard pass to one of our wingers' feet, and then by that point, 7 or 8 of your players are out of the game. I love Ramsdale. He's 25 years old. He's nowhere near his prime. A goalkeeper probably don't hit their prime to their 30s, late 20s, early 30s. And he does the job, don't he? He does the job. I like Martinez, I've got to be honest with you, but I think the problem with Martinez is there was obviously issues in the background with his behaviour. I honestly think there was something not right because there's no way Arteta lets him go after the end of the season he had. And I think we see it now, like with what he done. He's not very dignified, is he? In victory, like the way Argentina won the World Cup, and then he's digging out Mbappe. You don't need that. You don't want that kind of character in your club, really, do you? Like it's funny to a certain extent, but when you're trying to give it about a player who's just banged the hat trick in, he scored 3 goals, including a penalty, didn't he, Pastor? You ain't really got no ground to give it to him, mate. Do you know what I mean? And I think there was probably a lot of that. There was a reason why Martinez went. Leno, yeah, I fully agree with you. Sometimes I think he'd get us into trouble, but I think that was a bit of him and a bit of that. We had a really poor defence. I was actually, funnily enough, Sophie, watching a game yesterday. I think Aston Villa at home. Funnily enough, we beat them 3-2 with 10 men in 2019. The team was like, I was watching it and it was just like, nah, this is poor. Like, just watching it, it was poor. And I look at the team there to our team now, and it's just upgrades all over the pitch. And yeah, I just
come a long way.
I just watched how Leno was passed the ball out the back. The defence weren't good enough really to kind of take the ball as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think the right options were made in terms of the goalkeepers. I think Aaron Ramsdale is a goalkeeper for years to come. It'd be interesting what we do with the other goalkeeper, Matt Turner, whether he'll stay for a long period, because surely he must kind of want minutes and all that. And he's America's number one goalkeeper, so I can't see him being totally happy sitting on the bench for too long. But I think once we get into Champions League football, we need two top class goalkeepers again.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Martinez, I think, like you said, he can be a bit crazy with his celebration. So
Isn't he?
I know. I'm like, from an outside, I just watch it, I just laugh. But I think with Ramsdale, like with the opposition fans, I love how he gives it back to people, but you can take it. And I think it's nice to have like a character like that in the team, because it's not like arrogance at all. It's just quite light-hearted and it's just funny. So yeah, I think Ramsdale definitely. We don't always talk about him because we've always done such a good job elsewhere. So yeah, I think definitely Ramsdale has been great. I did want to ask you now, obviously with 10 games to go and looking back on the season, I know you probably go to Arsenal quite a lot. What are your like best moments of the season, or what are your kind of favourite games that you might have been to?
My best moment, obviously, is quite obvious. Bournemouth at home.
Yeah, that was crazy, that game.
The funny thing about it was two guys who sit in front of me. Obviously, they did get to see the goal in the end, which I was quite happy about, to be fair. It was about 96th and a half minute. He went, "See you later, mate. Enjoy the draw. Messing around here, right?" And then literally 30 seconds later, we've scored. And I see him that last week, and I said to him, "Did you see the goal?" And he went, "Yeah, he was at the top of the stairs." And I was like, it was just an insane moment, because when you're in the ground, as you would know, you don't know what injury time is, do you? You're just relying on the kind of referee. And at that point, I knew we'd gone past 96 minutes, and their goalkeeper got the ball, and I thought, that's it now. Once he kicks it, it's gone. So he booted the ball, and it went out of play. And I was like, the referee hasn't blown up here. So, and then obviously from that attack, we got the corner, and then we scored the goal. But yeah, I honestly don't think. I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans who have been to games a lot of years, and I don't think that moment's going to be beaten for a very, very long time. The only way that moment can be beaten is if we get to the last game of the season and win the league in the 90th minute or something like that, and then. Well, let's just be honest. I think fans are going to be on the pitch and everything. If that happened, I think fans would be on the pitch. I don't know how you'd stop people's kind of emotions. So the Bournemouth game's brilliant. Manchester United, obviously, Nketiah's 89th minute winner was a great moment. Obviously, Tottenham winning North London derby is always special, isn't it? Like it's always special going to. Obviously, the Emirates on North London derby day and beating them, because it's just a great day and evening. And then obviously you're buzzing from it for quite a long time after, looking forward to go work and everything, go and find Tottenham fans. So that was a good moment. Liverpool at home was a great one. Saka's penalty, that was such a pressurised moment. Because at that point, he hadn't taken a bad penalty of that stature since the European final.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible moment. Oh, there's so many games, but I think they're probably the games that I would look at in terms of the home games. Say, yeah, they were the best games of the season so far.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's just so many amazing moments, and it's just nice to sort of look back on that, because I guess the game against Bournemouth, like I really did not expect us to score a last-minute goal. I thought, okay, it's 2-2, and I was a bit disappointed. And then when we scored, I think everyone went crazy because, like, we
Yeah.
should be beating Bournemouth, but in the way we did, like you said, I don't know if we'll have another moment like that unless, you know, if it goes down to the end and we score and we win that. That would be really special. But yeah, I think there's just been like so many good games, and I think the way we've came back in this team, that we've just never given up, and the team just fights for each other, and we always find a way to win, and that's why I do think we'll do well this season. I think we have done well. I'd love to know also in the comments what your favourite game has been or your favourite moment. I did also say this on another podcast that even when Wenger came back, like after he left, it just to me it showed you how far Arteta has transformed this club, because I don't think at that time Wenger thought he could come back, because it was quite a bad place, really, fans and him. It sort of ended quite sad in a bad. I'm a bit sad how it ended with him, but I think for him to come back, it was so special, and I think for me that has really shown how far this team's come and what a good job Arteta has done to transform the culture actually at the club. You know, you look at the new stadium, and I just think this is like a new era at Arsenal. This is what it feels like, and yeah, I did want to ask you about Arteta actually. Also, happy birthday to Arteta for today. I know he's 41. But what have you sort of made of like the job he's done here?
He had a hard job from the very get-go, didn't he? Like a lot of issues. I think Mesut Ozil controlled a lot in the club. If I'm being totally honest, at that point, he had a massive click in there. Let's be honest. Like, obviously, there was about 3 or 4 players: Mustafi, Kolasinac, probably a couple of the others, and he was quite an influential player. And I think he obviously has battled that. But even before he kind of battled that, we went into COVID, which was unprecedented. Like it was just a moment that no one's in their lifetimes gone through before. Like every individual went through totally different kind of motions through that period. Like being a manager myself, I know exactly what it was like trying to manage individuals on a day-to-day basis during that. So the footballers would be no different, would they? Like you're thinking, yeah, right. You go into that moment, and then they come back out of it, and then they're having to play in front of empty stadiums for a season and a bit. Like how hard that, I think that would have put a lot back in terms of obviously what Arteta really wanted to do at that point. Like it must have been really hard to try and attract players into the club and all that kind of stuff, because obviously there was lockdowns and all that. So you have to put that into an equation as well. But I always remember, like at one point, it was either just coming out of lockdown or it was at some point, and Arteta goes, "This project will explode." Like he was so confident that this project would explode. And I remember sitting at the time thinking to myself, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because he could have nearly got sacked. He could have really, really nearly got sacked. And we've seen what's happened with other teams. Like most teams would have sacked Arteta at that point, going into probably the Christmas break, I think, when we beat Chelsea at the Emirates. And that, obviously, it was empty stadium again. But most teams would have sacked Arteta. But fair play to the board. I've never been the greatest fan of the Kroenkers, but do you know what? They are turning things around, and we are seeing a much better for Arsenal now, and they are spending money, which is obviously what we want to see. But after that moment, and he got some wins together, I never really felt that we would sack that. I thought that was the point, that if he was going to go, he'd have gone. Like even when we lost our first 3 games of last season, I thought at the time, could they sack him? But in my heart, I didn't think they would, because I thought they've overcome it once. They know they can overcome it again. But also at that same point, we played Chelsea, Man City, who were probably the 2 top teams in the league at that point in the first 2 games. And then Brentford at home, we had COVID, where we lost about 8. No, it was away, weren't it? Brentford away, we lost about 8 players before the season started due to COVID. So you sit there and you think 3 games at the start of last season, he's sitting with 0 points out of 9. And then when you start reflecting what he's done since that international break, losing 5-0 to Man City to now, it's totally insane. It's totally insane. This is a team that was bottom of the Premier League after 3 games, and in a season and a half later, he's top of the Premier League by 8 points. Like, I think that alone just shows you that he stuck by his beliefs. He said the project would explode. He's got the right players in now. He's got the right leaders in. Football's about leaders. You need leaders on the pitch. You can't win trophies without leaders. Like when people say to me, "Oh, it doesn't matter who the captain is." Yeah, it does matter who the captain is. It very much matters who the captain is. Like we see what Odegaard brings to the team now. We see what he does. We see what he's like with the fans and all that. Like you need leaders on the pitch, and Arteta's got that now. And I think that's a massive difference in terms of why we are where we are. And they all buy into his project, and we're planning incredible football now. We're probably the best team in the Premier League at the moment in terms of if you said to me right now, I said to you, what, like if you weren't an Arsenal fan, who's playing the best football in the Premier League this season? You'd say Arsenal.
Yeah.
You'd say Arsenal all day long. Like every game is insane. Whether it's 3-2, 3-1, 4-2, do you know what I mean? Or if we do go and beat a team like Fulham 3-0, the way we play in the first half, it'd be tragic if we don't win the Premier League this year. If I'm being totally honest, it'd be absolutely tragic if we don't win the Premier League because we played so well. But we've got to continue to play well for the last 10 games, like you said. If he does this and he pulls this off, the world he'll get every kind of obviously congratulations and accolade that he deserves because he's drove that particularly himself, and he would have sat there night after night sitting bottom of the league, probably scratching his head, probably stressed out and everything. And it's not an easy game management, and I just think he's done an incredible job. And he's 41 years old, like you said, it was his birthday, so he's 41 years old. Like he's got 20 years, potentially 25 years. Well, if you look at Roy Hodgson, he's got 35 years. Do you know what I mean? But he's got so much time on his hands. And like for me now, if we do go and win the Premier League, we can start believing that we can compete with the best of Europe, which we can start dreaming again that we can win the Champions League or finally win the Champions League. And that's what Arteta's done now. We stop dreaming as a club. As fans, we stop dreaming. Like we can dream now. We can dream that we can win the Premier League again. We can dream that we can go back into the Champions League. We can dream that we can sign the very best players in the Premier League and Europe, hopefully again. Like it's just incredible. Like that we've basically come this far. And I think the biggest thing for me, and I'll say it again, is the atmosphere around the stadium. Like it's incredible. And I sat there with 30,000 fans against Man City in 2019 when it snowed and we lost 3-0. It was 3-0 down at half time, and no one wanted a ticket back in them days. I couldn't give away a ticket for love or money. But you know what? I'm glad I sat in the stadium when it snowed. I'm glad I sat there and went through all them moments because it makes you appreciate what you've got today.
Yeah, definitely. I think like with Arteta, it's been such a journey. I think when he came in, this is why I think a lot of people wanted to give him a chance because I think with Unai Emery, it didn't work out. We move on, and with Arteta, I think when he came, you could see that he understood the values of Arsenal and what he said. A lot of us would agree with, but at that time, we didn't really have the right players to sort of do what he wanted to do, and we were stuck with players that were from Wenger's time, from Unai Emery's time, and some of them were really good. Some of them, we needed to move on, but it was hard for him to really manage that, and it was hard because there were some real difficult moments. Like I guess last season, starting off in the way we did. I think for me that Man City game when we lost, I think it was like 5-0. It's hard to sort of be positive and like believe that things will get better at that point. And I think there's been so many difficult moments, but I never ever would have thought we would be in this position now. To be fighting for the league it doesn't feel real actually, because I guess under Wenger the last few years, I would have dreamt to have players like a Saliba at Arsenal or just
Yeah.
a Thomas Partey, and we can attract them players now as well. And obviously, we do want players to come to Arsenal to play for our club because they loved Arsenal and everything like that. But a lot of players also like to play in teams that have Champions League football that are at the high level, and obviously. Man City have been able to like buy players that we've not been able to, and I think as well what I see it as well with the money we've spent, like Man City have spent a lot of money and we've probably not spent so much time on like strikers, and we've managed to be where we are now because of like our hard work, and you can really see how much these players like want to play for Arteta. And I guess it was hard for Arteta because this was his first like big job. I know he was the assistant coach under Pep, and Pep's one of the best, but it was always difficult to see if it would work out. And I feel like I'm just relieved it has worked out because, there's been times where it's been hard to believe, and like there's been a little bit of hope, but I think for me, I'm just really kind of grateful that it's worked out in the way I've wanted it to. And you just see, like, I barely see any Arteta out fans anymore. We all seem to be really happy with everything. So yeah, I'm relieved, really.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. There is a lot of relief in there because when you go through a process, you don't. That's the problem with us in the past, isn't it? We've gone through a process, like you said. Unai Emery, for me, Unai Emery was a stopgap in my eyes, and that's nothing against him because I liked Unai Emery as a person. I just think it was whoever coming after Wenger would have gone after a year, 2 years, because there was too much conflict. You had the Wenger ins, the Wenger outs. It was awful in the stadium. People fighting each other. It was disgraceful when you think about it. Like, you go to football, you should go to football to enjoy it, to go out and obviously enjoy it. And then you're going into a stadium where people are having punch-ups with each other, which is not right. Which is absolutely ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It was happening week in, week out. And unfortunately for Emery, then you'd have the Wenger outs, because that's what we would have seen, wouldn't we, after? All the Wenger outs, all the Wenger ins, if Unai Emery lost a game, then obviously they would go back to the Wenger outs and go, well, this wouldn't have happened if Wenger was in, and then it'll kick off again. And it was probably a good thing, lockdown, in a lot of ways, because it kind of, in a lot of ways, took that out of the stadium. I don't think it helped Arteta whatsoever, but it took it all out of the stadium. But yeah, you're right. I'm really pleased that obviously the process has worked, because if it didn't work, you're talking about another 3-4 year cycle. Where now, look at it now. Like, this is a very young team, so this is only the start. This is what I'm saying to people. This is only the start. Like, we're gonna attract better players in the summer. We're gonna get better players into the club. We're gonna be a better team next year. We're gonna be better than what we was this year. Don't get me wrong. Other teams will be better next year, but we'll be better next year as well. So, like, we're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and our youth system is top notch. Like, we brought out players like the Sackers, the Smith Rowes. Do you know what I mean? We've even got like players out at the moment. Balogun, look what he's doing in France. Charlie Patino, he's obviously Blackpool ain't doing well, but he's been their standout player. And there's talk about him coming back in next year to be competing. And then you look even further down the line with obviously some of the other youngsters that have been on the bench this year. It's just insane that we probably got, like, you look at any other team in the Premier League, probably don't put as many youngsters out as we do. Reece Nelson, for example, I know he hasn't obviously exploded to what he was, but I was so happy for him to have that moment against Bournemouth, because what he's gone through, like, it's not easy for a youngster to go out on loan into another country. I don't think us as fans think about that at times. Like, you've got a 19, 20-year-old kid going out to Holland on loan, like a totally new culture, like doesn't know no one in Holland, like, and goes out there and has to play football for a season. That's not easy. Easy is staying in the Arsenal reserves. Do you know what I mean? At home, around your whole family. So fair play to all it. Like William Saliba, I know he went back to France, so it was a bit easier for him, and he knew France. But they work hard, these youngsters, and they're all level-headed, and you can see that in the interviews. Eddie Nketiah, he went out on loan, didn't he? He went to Leeds.
Yeah.
He went to Leeds, didn't he? Like they've all learnt their trade elsewhere, and they've come back and they're hungry. And Mikel Arteta, man, knows how to get the best out of them as well. And I think that's the biggest thing for Mikel Arteta is that for him to win the league and be able to go to players like Reece Nelson and say to bring him on at 2-0 down against Bournemouth, and he totally changes the game and wins the game. Like he's going to youngsters and doing that, and that tells me that his man management is absolute spot on.
I know, because people question his man management. I know, do you know, like not the season, but in the past with like Martinelli, because I know Martinelli had an injury and then Arteta wouldn't really play him for much. So I know people question that, but it's clear to see with Arteta that wasn't the case, and he is good at that. And yeah, I think, like you said, with Reece Nelson, like going to a different country, like at his age, that would be really scary. But and he's done it because he wants to become a better footballer, and we know how much Arsenal means to him. And I think for me, seeing him score that winner, I just think there's not another player I wanted it for more, because I think for Reece, like he's worked really hard, and I just think he's shown his worth and how good he is, and I like to see him get that game time. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how it is with Arteta. I think, like you said, I think as seasons go on, I think we will improve. And like we said, Man United, they've gotten better this season. They'll probably improve again. Man City will. So I think as long as we are improving as well, for me, that's what I'm happy with. I'll answer some of these questions. Who would play of the season? We sort of like briefly talked about that, but I think I'd go for Saka. What would you say?
Yeah, Saka slowly behind Odegaard, I'd say. Saka
it's
first.
hard. It's really hard to pick.
Yeah, Saka definitely. Well, I think it's going to be Saka or Haaland, isn't it? I think Haaland will get player of the year in the May, obviously when the awards come out, and I think Saka will get young player of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I've gone this one.
There's only one goal in
there. There's only one. We've already said that before.
All right, let's take that goal out of it. Apart from a Reece Nelson goal, what's your favourite goal?
That's a hard one.
I've got mine. I think you might agree with it when I come out of it.
Okay, I've got this one that it's hard to say my favourite, but do you know when we played Liverpool? Martinelli's goal that set us off really well. I was really impressed with that, because I think Martinelli is honestly got such a bright future ahead of him. I think he is just such a fantastic player to have at Arsenal, and I think that goal was really good. I think he's great at finishing, and I think he's been really good for us. So, what's yours?
Thomas Partey against Tottenham at home.
Oh, I love that. I think I actually was at that game. I watched it. I thought, wow. I was like,
that went in like an arrow, didn't it? That went in like an arrow. I think because the season's been so long now, you kind of forget you had a World Cup.
That feels like 2 seasons ago.
You had a whole World Cup. Do you know what I mean? That you kind of forget it. But yeah, I think that strike against Partey was probably my favourite goal. Definitely.
Do you know what? I was thinking about that. I actually forgot I went to that game. It does feel like ages ago. I feel like so much has happened this season. I think everyone's agreeing with you that. Do you know when I watched that goal go in, I was like speechless. I was like, wow. That was amazing. Let me go for this one. In your opinion, who has been our best signing since Arteta took? That's a hard one. I need to think about that, because he's
Martin Odegaard.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think, a lot of people did have mixed opinions about Odegaard. I think a lot of people didn't see the talent there. I mean, I know Odegaard did a lot of good things apart from score. This was like last season, and I feel like a lot of people have really changed their opinions. A lot of people did doubt him as well. But personally, I was really happy to have him back. I think for me, he's needed somewhere to kind of call home and be there for, because I know he's played to other teams and it's just not really kind of worked out. And I just think I just feel so like honoured to have him at Arsenal, and yeah, he's brilliant. You can't complain about that, can you? Really?
You're right, and you're totally right what you're saying. No one, and let's be honest, Gerard, no one would have foreseen the Odegaard that we're seeing now. No one would have seen that. Real Madrid wouldn't have seen that. No one would have seen that. So, but there's a game that when he was on loan with us, West Ham away, 3-3. If you ever see it again. But
Yeah.
the reason I say this is right, we got absolutely battered the first 30 minutes. It was 3-0 down at West Ham. And Odegaard was incredible that day. And he didn't have games like that in the loan spell whatsoever. But this game, he was that good. And I remember I was on a show in the summer and we was debating whether would we take Maddison or Odegaard? And we was just discussing that Maddison would be a quick fix. He knows the Premier League inside out. But what we did kind of discuss was Odegaard's glass ceiling. And I always go back to that West Ham game that I sat there and I thought, this guy could potentially be another level. If someone can get it out of him on a week in, week out basis, he could be anything he wants to be. And I'm glad we signed him. And we got him for peanuts now, when you think about it. At the time, people didn't know what to expect. So people didn't know whether it was good money or whether it was not good money. Do you know what I mean? Because he hadn't done it at Real Madrid. But as I said to you before, like this guy, when he was 15 years old, they were talking about him being a future Ballon d'Or winner. They were putting him in the same breath as Lionel Messi. That's the kind of player we got. And what is he, 22, 23?
He's so young, isn't he?
Like he's ridiculously young. It's ridiculously young. And when you think of Mesut Ozil, who for me was an unbelievable signing when we got him, but flattered to deceive, they probably did have the right players around him, if we're being totally honest at times as well. But Martin Odegaard is much more effective than Mesut Ozil, game in, game out. He's got more. He's more likely to score many more goals than Mesut Ozil, which is proving that already.
Yeah,
and he's got the vision as well. The big thing is, and Mesut Ozil did do a lot of legwork, but he did it in certain areas. Odegaard is just an absolute beast, and he will defend. He will attack. He'll go in for tackles if he needs to. But he's just so good on the ball, honestly. And like him and Saka, I don't think there's going to be a better combo in world football over the next few years in terms of that relationship they got down the right. They're just in a different level. When you're talking about two potential world-class players. Now, people will sit here and go, well, they're only 21 and 23. How can you call them world-class? And there's a good reason to debate there. But what they're performing at the moment to what I see in the rest of world football, I don't see many people performing better than them two.
Yeah, I think for me with Odegaard, I think with how much he was, I know a lot of people maybe didn't understand why we would bring him, but I think for me that loan was really good for us to see what sort of player we would be getting. And I think one of our Europa League games, he scored an absolute fantastic goal, and to me, that sort of told me he was at a level above some of the players at the time at the club. And now we've got the right players, the right mentality. He just slots into his team really well. And I think, like you said, him and Saka are just they just have that connection on the pitch. And I think Odegaard, he does in ways remind me of Ozil, but I sort of think Odegaard has that hard work, and he never stops working on the pitch. Even if he's not scoring or assisting, he'll help either defend the team or he'll help in other areas of the pitch. And I think his hard work is relentless. I think he's just such a good player. So on that question, I do sort of agree with you. I would say that, and it's hard to say because I think Odegaard's definitely up there. I think for me, I think Gabriel Magalhaes, I think for me, he has been with so many different partnerships. I think he's been with Mustafi, Louise, Rob Holding, now Saliba, and he's still shown how good he is against those sort of players. And we know that Saliba and him are the best defenders we have right now. And I think Gabriel is just I think he's improved a lot actually since he first came. I know he has the odd mistake in him, the odd moment, but I think he's solid. I feel quite comfortable with him at the back, and I just think he is just such an important part, like you said before, for for winning the league and for doing so well. I think defensively he's done a fantastic job. So for me, I'd probably say Gabriel, but Odegaard is definitely. I'd say them both. Really, it's hard to put out one.
It is hard, yeah. Like, what I would say about Gabriel, and it's a great shout in terms of obviously what was he, 20 million, something like that. Like you said, he's played under different partnerships, and now he's got a partner that he's going to play with for the next 4 or 5 years, hopefully. In William Saliba, like both of them only are going to get better as that partnership grows. And that's what's so great about this team. And that's why I'm so excited about this team, is because partnerships are only going to get better. So when I talk about Odegaard drifting out to the right with Saka, Ben White, that partnership's only going to get better. Like we've seen Ben White and Saka all this season. Like that's like you got Gary Neville who said, like, I don't understand why Arsenal pay 50 million and now they're playing right back. But in my head, I'm looking at it in a totally different contents. I'm looking at it that they've got Ben White who can play right back and centre back. So if he can play right back and centre back, surely he should be worth even more money. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got a player who can play naturally in two positions. So I think what he's done this year has proved a lot of critics wrong, Ben White, as well, which is great. But I think Gabriel, I love the way he's no nonsense, isn't he? He puts it all in. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll get in some rucks, but you want that kind of player who will mix it up. Like you don't. It's true. You don't win nothing with like 11 nice players. So we've got these players now that can mix it up. It's Xhaka, Gabriel. If anyone goes and takes out one of our players, them two are going to jump in straight away. And that's what I love about him. He's just so unique in that kind of way. And yeah, he has made mistakes. Like at the start of the season, I thought he was pretty poor at the start in terms of a couple of the games he played. But what I would say, since probably the back end of September onwards, I don't think he's put a foot wrong. I think he's been our best defender. Like even better than Saliba. He's actually been better than Saliba, Gabriel. So you're bang on the buzzer with that one. I think he has been our best defender this season.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, with him, like in different partnerships, and I guess at the start of the season, I didn't think he would. I think Saliba, I think him coming in was like massive because everyone had spoken about him, how I think a lot of fans didn't think Arteta was going to give Saliba the opportunity because obviously he went on loan a few times and I think people never thought we would really get to see him. So I think for me, I think Saliba a lot of the time was the star of the show. So
yeah.
But I do think Gabriel deserves that credit. But I think having that solid partnership, I think that as a defender, it's important to play with the same person over like a number of times of like because I think if he's played with like David Luiz 1 week, next week Rob Holding, like he needs that consistency. Like he needs to know who he's playing with, and I think just like you said before when you're watching like the Aston Villa game from a few years ago. It just makes you see how far we've come with the players we have now, and it's just such a joy to see how far we've come. And I definitely think we've improved massively. And it's obviously hard to say with Arteta which player has like been the best under him because obviously Ben White as well. He's improved a lot, and I think everyone just loves him. He's just such a good player, and I think he's got that sort of nastiness a bit about him, which is a good thing because. In recent years, a lot of people have called us like soft, and I don't think you see that with this Arsenal team anymore. I think there's like a bit of nastiness and a bit of like definitely leadership. We've lacked leadership, I think, for a while, but I think Odegaard being a captain as well has definitely, changed things. I think having the right captain like after Aubameyang was so important because. You do need a captain, and it's, like you said, it's so important to have the right captain at the club and having that leadership. So I do think Arteta's done really well with bringing in the right players like Zinchenko, Jesus. I could talk all day about which like players I love, but yeah,
we haven't even talked about him, have we? We haven't even talked about Gabriel. That says something.
I completely forgot then because I thought, you know what, it's hard because he's brought in so many amazing players. I think.
He's going to have a game this season. I'm going to put it in now and you can come back to me. Gabriel Jesus is going to have a game. And I know he had this kind of game Man City last year where he was going to score 3-4 goals in a game. That's what will happen with Gabriel Jesus. He will score.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, he will. He will. And I'll tell you what, yeah, right. Gabriel Jesus, right. When we started our pre-season this year was when I started believing. I didn't even believe when I started believing in the pre-season. I was watching us in the pre-season. I was like, this is like, I know it's only pre-season. We pretty much are quite good at pre-seasons, but I was watching us just dismantle like Chelsea and some really good teams. And I was watching Jesus come on and like he was scoring goals left, right, and centre at the time. He was really confident and he's such a winner. Like the guy he's not just such a winner. He breeds the right culture, and it's like when we beat Man United. Was it Man United? Yeah, when we beat Man United, him and El Neni. There's another unsung hero. They're both on the sideline, like waiting for the players to come down, cuddling them, all that. Like the geezer's out injured. He could be sitting there at home feeling sorry for himself. And in the past, that's what would have happened. Players would have been sitting at home feeling sorry for themselves, not really caring what's going on. But no, Gabriel and Jesus and El Neni have come down and then literally hugged and high-fived every player that's come off the pitch after that Man United game. And the geezer's such a winner and like his mentality again, like Zinchenko. But I'm going to put it out here now. Gabriel Jesus is going to score quite a few goals in a game this season by the end of the season, I think.
I really hope so. I think for me, like, I know Jesus before he got injured was on like a little bit of a drought where he wasn't scoring, but I think for me, even his like movement on the ball, finding the right passes, getting into like a good position, I think that is what we've missed. And I don't think anyone, like, of course Eddie took over, scored some great goals and has helped us throughout the season, but I think this feels like the right time now to have Jesus back. And I wanted to ask you, because obviously, did you expect us to do as well as we have done without? When Jesus was injured, I know a lot of people were thinking, this is our season, it's going to crumble now. Yeah. So did you expect us to kind of manage so well without him?
I think Eddie Nketiah have done a really good job in the short term. I was one of the people, and I'm not saying it big-headedly, but when we bought Trossard, I wanted him to try him down the middle. Mm-hmm. And we didn't do it for the first few games because I just thought that looking at Trossard at Brighton, he scored a lot of big goals at Brighton against big teams away from home as well. And he's just got that natural ability of being in the right place at the right time. But I didn't expect the I didn't expect the whole impact. So, like, what's he got? 7 assists already? That's pretty insane for a player to come in January and get 7 assists and a goal. And he had a perfectly good goal disallowed against Leicester, which was an unbelievable strike. I think because we got I think Eddie Nketiah had probably done as much as he could. But the problem with Nketiah is that for me, he's a striker who scores goals. And for me, he's an impact player. For me, he's a guy you bring on with 20, 30 minutes to go and he's got great legs and he causes a lot of havoc and all that. Yeah. But he doesn't get the best out of people like Martinelli as much and Saka as much, where Trossard and Jesus drift left, drift right, make openings for people. I think the Trossard signing's been a massive key in terms of us being able to keep it's an 8-point lead, but it could be 5. They win their game in hand. Us maintaining a 5-point lead, because I think we were coming to a point where we needed to change it basically up front because we got a bit flat in them last couple of games against Everton, Brentford. And if I'm being honest as well, I think where we beat Man United and we were such a high to go and lose to Everton the next week, that's happened to Arsenal at times. We win a massive game and then it's hard, isn't it? Then you've got to pick yourself up again. And I think that's where you need winners like Jesus up front for you, because then they know that obviously you've had that high moment, but you can't rest on your laurels. You've got to go and perform like that again, whether you're playing at home against Manchester United or away against Everton. And I just think that, it was a big moment for Eddie and it was a great moment. But I think personally, I think Trossard and Jesus are our men for the rest of the season moving forward to push us to that final line.
I definitely agree, because I think since Trossard's came in, he's just had this big impact, and his impact's been quite instant, and he's just like assisted lots of goals, and he just shows you his talent. And I think with Eddie, like, I think he scored some great goals. He's helped us along the way. and I'm always like grateful for that. But I think for me, like you said, if he's someone that I think when he's someone who comes on as a substitute, like say in the 50th, 70th minute or something, he will give you something like this. I think there's more of a chance Eddie scoring a goal when he comes on than if he plays on the whole game. Because sometimes he could play the whole game and sometimes don't know if he's playing. Like sometimes he can have a really quiet game, and then other times when he comes on as substitute, he'll make a big impact and bring this energy we need. So like you said, I think I really like Trossard. I think he's, for me, like back in the day when Giroud would come off the bench, that is what I feel like Trossard does. He's just like it's like he's been here for years. He's just slotted into this team, and I agree. Going forward, I think we do need to play a strongest team, and obviously Eddie can come on, and it depends with Jesus because I know Arteta probably doesn't want to start him too soon, and want to keep him like have enough energy because he's obviously been injured. So I think with Jesus he'll probably like maybe put him on the bench, and it's good to bring him on, but I think right now with Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, I think I feel really confident with them up there. I think they work really well with each other, and I think I just feel confident with them because they do the job all the time, and that's what
You think we get Eddie back? We've got all that front five to choose from, and like you said, Eddie is a really good impact player. Like against Everton at home, he'd come on and he had a really good impact again. And like you said, he's good because what he can do is he can run with it, but he can run. But he's good at popping up in positions. And if he hasn't been playing in that game, centre-backs are not ready for him. Do you know what I mean? And I think, like, if we get to the end of the season with at least either Jesus, Trossard and Nketiah, or two of them on the bench, it just gives us different options, don't it? Like, you look at the winning teams of Liverpool, Man City. Like, Liverpool, they could bring on, like Jota, all them kind of players, Firmino. They got Salah, they got Diaz, like they had Mane. Like, you're talking 5 players, do you know what I mean? And that's a massive difference when you can have 5 players. Like last year, Mikel Arteta was looking at his bench and he had nine players, and 7 of them were youngsters. And he had no intention of bringing. He had no intention of bringing them on the pitch. So to have all these players now on the bench is just a great place to be. And if we can get into the last 10 games and have all these forwards fit, I think we got a really good chance of obviously doing it, because Gabriel Jesus is only going to get better, and I honestly believe that especially away to Man City and probably away to Liverpool as well, I think you need Jesus starting.
Yeah, I think, like you said, when we've got those more, I think all of our games coming up will be difficult, but there's other ones that are probably more difficult, like Man City, Liverpool. I think with them, I'd probably start the stronger team. I think to be honest, I do like to see Trossard play every game. Really, I think for me, he just deserves to be in the starting team. I think he makes that impact, and obviously Jesus coming on or Eddie coming on when he's like okay. I feel like confident now with our with all the signings we've made, because I think we did need to bring a few players in if we wanted to keep going for the league, and obviously Jorginho as well. He's like a good, if Partey's injured, he can come in. He might not do the same job as Partey, but he will. Like, he's really good at finding them passes and keeping the ball, and I just think he's a really experienced player that we've needed. And I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think he's shown now why we've signed him, and I think even if it's short term, I think he's doing good. So I'm really, really confident. Hopefully, we'll win the league. But God, we've been on here for an hour and a half. I could honestly touch all day. I better wrap this up in a few minutes. So if anyone's got any questions they want to ask, just ask away now. But I've really, really enjoyed the stream. I just want to thank you so much for coming on the channel. If you could let people know where they could find you on like YouTube or Twitter.
Yeah, geez, I can't remember what my Twitter name is. I think it's the Smug Cannon, isn't it? If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm under the Smug Cannon, which is my @ name. But yeah, I do run a channel, which is the Arsenal Fans Forever channel. We do a lot of our content. We have a lot of kind of people that we kind of grown with, if I'm being totally honest with you, for the last kind of year. I only took it on about a year ago and done it. Got a bit of inspiration from obviously you guys, and yeah, no, I really enjoy it. It's like just talking to different Arsenal fans, get loads on there, and just get their opinions really. Oh yeah, and basically, if we win the league this year, at the victory parade, I'm going to dress up as the parrot. I'm going to dress up as a parrot.
I need to be there for that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to do it last game of the season, just in case there's a finale to it. But what I've said is, if we win it, I'm gonna dress up as the parrot for the title presentation day around the ground.
That'd be amazing. Tom, I hope we win the league even more now. Tom just said, "Are you going to the game on Wednesday?"
Sadly, not. I'm preparing for my stag do in Dublin on Friday, so it's going to be a bit of a messy weekend. I know.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be messy this weekend. So I'm not at the game. So apparently there's a bar in Dublin that shows all the Premier League games. So going to watch the Arsenal Leeds from there on Saturday. But hopefully the boys do it.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, thank you guys to everyone that's also like left messages. It's been really good fun talking to you guys, and the stream has flown by. Honestly, I'm just really grateful to have you on here, Liam, and thank you so much for joining me today. And yeah, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember to check out Liam's channel as well, and yeah, I will see you all very soon. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.